Hi, welcome to our Holy Week services. Our hope is that every night this week a short service will be online to help you celebrate the incoming Easter. We are following a meditation sheet that can be found on our webpage in the latest magazine edition. So if you want to follow that as well, then you're most welcome to do so. Before we have our first reading, let us open this act of worship with prayer. Let us pray. God of relationship, forgive us for all those times when we cut ourselves off from others. Our government is encouraging this just now, hoping to limit the spread of the virus so that it doesn't overwhelm our health service. And we are maybe scared for our own health, so we protect ourselves, isolate ourselves. But this is no excuse for all the other times when we isolate ourselves, when we cut ourselves off from others, those times that we cut ourselves off from those that are different, like the foreigners, or those of other religions, or those of a different sexuality, or those that are noisy and in your face, or those that want to cuddle us and have no consideration for our personal space, or those that are mourning and are just so depressing to be near, or those that are just a pain in the neck and so needy, or those, well, you know that the list goes on and on and on. It would be scary to look at our lives through your eyes and to see all the reasons that you might want to isolate from us. All those things that we have done wrong, all those things we have failed to do to help others, all our greed and our selfishness and our insensitivity. But you don't do that. In grace and mercy, you continue to reach out the hand of relationship to each of us, giving us what we need rather than what we think we want, hoping that we will in turn see the joy of being with others. You hope that we will be in relationship with others, so in relationship we say together the prayer that you taught us to say. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Our reading tonight takes us from where we left off yesterday. Yesterday we had Jesus entering Jerusalem and cleaning out the temple, and while that was going on there were other people there witnessing it, and some of them were Greeks. So our reading takes us into how they would have seen things, from John's Gospel chapter 12 and reading from verse 20. Some Greeks were among those who had gone to Jerusalem to worship during the festival. They went to Philip, he was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said, "Sir, we want to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew, and the two of them went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has now come for the Son of Man to receive great glory. I am telling you the truth, a grain of wheat remains no more than a single grain, unless it is dropped into the ground and dies. If it does die, then it produces many grains. Those who love their own life will lose it, and those who hate their own life in this world will keep it for life eternal. Whoever wants to serve me must follow me, so that my servant will be with me wherever I am, and my Father will honor anyone who serves me." Alva is a weird place. In Alva there's two types of people. There are those who come from Alva, and there's all the others, the incomers. And that's it. That's all there is. I was once visiting this old woman, and her neighbour was in the house, and they were having a great big row over all the incomers at an Alva. And the neighbour said to the woman, "I don't know what you're talking about. You're an incomer yourself." And the woman who I was visiting was indignant. How dare you say that? I was born in this house. But then the neighbour said, yeah, but your mum and dad weren't. That's how serious it is to be an Alvonian. Not just one generation, you've got to be in for two or you're an incomer. And you know, that's okay until we decide to treat people differently just because we put a label on them. In our passage tonight, we have this tension going on. Does God believe people are different? And if they are, does God treat them differently? The Jews felt it was very clear. God saw people differently. There were the Jewish people, the chosen people, and there were the Gentiles who by default were the not chosen people. Now you could change sides. If a Gentile was guided by God to see things differently, then he could go through a process where he became one of the chosen people. But it was a long process and a very painful process, especially if you were a man. So many people didn't do that. That's how we end up with these Greeks that are part of the story tonight. They are worshipping in the temple, in the outer part of the temple, where anyone could go. And they see Jesus doing what Jesus did, turning over the tables, and they think, wow, what is going on here? We want to know what's going on here. And so they try to get close to him, but they're a bit scared. Does Jesus believe that they're not chosen and so not worthy? And then they notice Philip, which is a Greek name, and maybe he had a slightly different accent, more of a Greek accent. So they ask Philip if it would be okay to see Jesus. And Philip, even though he's a disciple, doesn't know. So he decides to go and see Andrew, which is a nice wee story in itself, because it kind of indicates that some of these people we think are very confident because they go to church, maybe aren't as confident as they look. But they want to know if Jesus sees them as different or the same. Anyway, Jesus then gives the opinion that maybe God is a bit more open than we are. So maybe the question is not so much is God open to us, but are we open to God? I have 5 children. Some are biological and some are not. If you were to ask me which one is my favourite, I would tell you that you were asking the wrong question. If instead you were to ask me which ones do I support, which ones do I encourage, which ones do I rejoice with when they succeed, which ones do I mourn with when they struggle, I would tell you, all of them. Trust me, God is a lot more loving than I am. God is a lot more tolerant and patient and generous and caring than I am. So if you were to ask me which people are his favourites, which people are his people, is it the Church of Scotland people, or the Baptist people, or the Episcopalian people, or the Mormon people, or the Islamic people, or the Jehovah's Witness people, I would tell you, you're asking the wrong question. If you were to ask me, who does God support? Who does he encourage? Who does he rejoice with when they succeed? Who does he mourn with when they struggle? I would tell you, all of us. Let us pray. Father, as your love reaches out to us, may we reach out to all other people. As your love is open to us, may we be open to all other people. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. I hope you've enjoyed this meditation and will join us tomorrow for Tuesday nights.